What's up, YouTube family? Pastor Gerald here from the Pastor's Cave, or actually from my yard. I am dressed down obviously a little today. I just got a t-shirt on. Oh, and I got this thing. So if you don't follow the Clean and Green channel, Clean and Green Lawn Service, well, you can go over there and see how this happened. I broke a bone. So anyway, today is episode 2, looking at churches. And, oh, by the way, just being dressed this way, you probably say, he doesn't look like a pastor. I get that a lot, so don't worry about it. I do on Sunday, whatever that's supposed to mean. Anyway, episode 2. Episode 1, we looked at the hurt church, and episode 2 here, we're going to look at the church that hurts. Kind of the same words, but just rearranged with a totally different meaning. So, a couple of things that I want to say up front, especially in these first few videos, is this. I do not have all the answers. I don't claim to have all the answers. I have not always made all the right decisions when it comes to ministry, nor do I think I'll ever be able to say that I'm making all the right decisions in the present. Okay, that's just the fact of the matter is, well, we all fall short of the glory of God, and we do that in our roles of leadership. So the second thing is I want to say is I'm going to be very gracious regarding the church that hurts. Later on, I may tell some stories in future videos that will come out of these various churches, but it would be very easy following along my videos for people to figure out which church I'm talking about doing this series chronologically. And so I want to be gracious because, look, the church is the bride of Christ. And, pastors make mistakes, lay people make mistakes, and unfortunately people get hurt in churches. But I'm calling this the hurt church because, it just hurt, So my first church was so good and so gracious and so loving. And the next church was, at least to begin with. So I had my reservations about going to this church because, they just did not have a good testimony in the community. So, if you're at the restaurant, if you're at the ballpark, you kind of figure out the pulse of a church by just the conversations that take place. And, but I really believe the Lord had led me there. I had a pastor friend of mine call me about 2 months before I left my first church and said, hey, I'm going to be doing a revival in the spring, and I want to have a different preacher for every service. Is there any way that you could kick off the revival doing the Sunday morning service? And I said, sure. Well, at that time, I had no idea I was leaving my first church, and I certainly had no idea when I showed up that Sunday morning in the spring that would be his last Sunday at the church. And so immediately that afternoon, some of the leaders from the church began calling me and said, hey, we want you to come be our pastor. And so I just told them, I said, well, I'll pray about it. And again, I really did not want to go because, just all the stuff that I had heard. But I agreed to sit down and talk with them. And I told them up front, I said, guys, y'all just don't have a great testimony, This church was born out of a split about 35 years before I came there. And, and there was just a lot of tension. Now, there were a lot of great folks there. It was not a big church. When I got there, I think the first Sunday with my family seems like there was maybe, I want to say it was 18 people, because when the previous pastor left the week before, I just kept filling in for him. Until I officially took the pastor role there. The guy that left before me, that had been there the Sunday before, he left, and a lot of people left with him, again, because he left under some contentious circumstances. And So I think there was 18 people, and we were a family of 5. And so, it's a small congregation, and they had assured me that they would do whatever we needed to do to rebuild our testimony and our witness for Christ within the community. And honestly, for the first 6 months or so, things went along very well. That summer, which was only a few months in, we had a vacation Bible school that just had a phenomenal turnout. As a matter of fact, we were so small, I had enlisted some youth people who had been youth at my home church. They came down and helped us with us. They were, I think by that time, adults by then, but I know one of them was. So according to members in the church, it was one of the, if not the biggest vacation Bible school they had ever had. And it was so refreshing, man. We had children running around, and it was just, we really didn't even have the room. The first day of Bible school, I had to go back online and have overnighted materials for 15 or 20 kids overnighted to us, and we thought we had ordered too much to begin with. I mean, it was just phenomenal, and we thank the Lord for that. Well, over the course of time, that 20-something people we had went to 30, and then to 40, and then to 50, and then to 60, and probably about a year in, we would run anywhere from 60 to 80 on Sunday. We had made a good many changes in the church, the way that we did things in the service, and things were rocking along pretty good. And basically, I had one of the key leaders. So there's about maybe five people that really made the decisions for the whole congregation. And as it turns out, I wasn't one of those, and I guess that had worked pretty good when there was a small number. But what happens, as a pond grows, I always say it like this, you can be a big fish in a small pond, but as the pond gets bigger, the fish becomes smaller, meaning your influence gets smaller. And so one of the key leaders came to me, and I would say this is, probably the leader. He came to me, he said, "Now, preacher, we don't want no big church." And I said, "Well, brother, when did that become my decision or your decision?" I thought that was up to the Lord. He said, "Well, it is up to the Lord, but you know what I mean." And I just responded, probably not as graciously as I should have. And I said, "Yeah, that's the problem. I know exactly what you mean." And so you can probably take from that phrase and think about what it was like doing ministry in that context. And so it just became a battle after that. And they just didn't want me to lead the church, at the end of the day. And they, things started getting done behind my back. There were some things that got done behind the church's back. I will tell this one thing, and I won't go into details, but essentially, a group of leaders changed the bylaws without the church's permission, said they had the authority to do it, where new members would not be able to vote for a year. And that was kind of the last straw for me. I knew they wanted me gone, but I had stayed. I had a group of people I was gathering with and praying with. Some of those. Now, listen, there were some great people attending the church. They just weren't in leadership. And there were some good people in leadership. I don't want to paint too broad of a brushstroke here. And I don't think the people that push back against me, I would not say that they were evil people. I would not say that, I think there was a sense in which they felt like they had to protect the church, and pastors would come and go. That had been their experience. And of course, I did leave. And they just felt like it was up to them. I think they were just misguided, And I tried to talk into reason with them, but it just wasn't working out, And but I did stay for a while, and I decided that I would just leave on my own terms. And again, I don't know that was necessarily. Maybe I should have stayed. I don't really know. When you look back in hindsight, I can tell you this: not a lot has changed, and it's now some 15 not 15, 12 years, 13 years later, and things are still about the same around there. And they've had a couple of pastors since I left, but you know, it just, once I decided to leave, I gave them a 1-month notice, and it really got ugly after that. I mean, I had people questioning my salvation, questioning my call to ministry. At the end of one of the services, once we had said the amen and everything was supposed to be over, actually somebody jumped up to defend me, I think, and it kind of become chaotic, people talking. I remember one point it was so bad that my wife got our 3 children and left, you know, because she didn't want them exposed to that. And of course they knew. I mean, they knew how things were going, but she just didn't want them to be in there, you know, to be a part of that. And so, now, I call that the church that hurts, because I don't want to say it hurt me. I did not leave on bad terms as far as my heart's concerned. I told them my last Sunday there, I said, hey, I love y'all, and, you know, if you need something, I'll always be here for you. But this is just not working out. You know, it's, if I can't lead, if I can't, and when I say lead, that doesn't mean that I get my way all the time, but it does mean that as a pastor, you know, you kind of determine the direction of the church and things that you need to do in terms of outreach and things of that nature. You can't have your hands tied on everything and have to go through some board or some committee, you know, if you got a family in need and you need to get them $50 worth of groceries. I mean, just ridiculous stuff, and I'm not making this up. So I just told them, you know, look, it didn't work out. When I came here, and I told the whole congregation, which was very small then, that if I come here, we're going to do A, B, C, and D. And everybody agreed to it. And then, you know, those in leadership just, you know, just didn't want to do it. So anyway, I call it the church that hurts because I have seen some young pastors. Now, that was only my second pastorate. I have a little bit of an advantage. I didn't become a pastor till I was 33 years old. And I didn't get saved till I was 25 years old. So at 33, I had a lot more life experience. I'd been working in, you know, manufacturing then for about 16, 18 years. I had worked with the public for a few years in the grocery business. So I had a lot of life experience dealing with people who are hard to get along with, realizing that, you know, life just isn't fair. And it did not even challenge my resolve and my call to ministry. However, I know a couple of other pastors. I'm thinking of one guy in particular that went to a church that was a lot like the one I had been at, and there are a lot of them out there. And he was there for a couple of years, and they broke him. Just, you know, a young guy. He went to college, Bible school, straight to pastoring, probably 24 years old, and they just really hurt him. And to this day, he's still not in ministry, at least not pastoral ministry. I mean, that was his first and only church as far as I know. Go, boy. That looks like airbag. Lord bless them if it is, man. When I see one of those, that's what I say. Lord bless them. I thought it might have been military, but no, it's not military. We're close to a military base here, and Fort Stewart, 3rd Infantry Division, and there's a lot of choppers fly over, a lot of 50 cal firing off in the woods out there, tanks, all kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm thankful that, you know, I did go in there with a little bit of experience and not be broken by a situation like that. And again, this is literally the G-rated version of how things went down, just out of respect for, you know, some folks from there may watch these YouTube videos, and I want to be gracious. So, but anyway, you know, if you're in a church like that, you might have a church where, you know, you get a young pastor in, man, y'all, if you do, man, help him, you know, and don't make the mistake that church made, even after we had grown and had more and more people, to let 3 or 4 people make all the decisions, you know, especially if you know something's not right. You know, encourage them. And if you're a you know, if you're a pastor at a church like that, I mean, I can't tell you what to do. I can only tell you what I did. You have to have a peace with God about the decision you make. And leaving there, I had a peace. Now, why in the world did I go there then? You know, why would the Lord send me? I was only there for 20 months, and why? You know, and I did wonder that at one time. I thought, oh, you know, it wasn't even a full-time church. I'd left to go to a full-time church. I ended up back by vocational. It could have been a full-time church, but there again, that's just ended up not being what they wanted. But I'm going to tell you something. God teaches us, at least me, I'm a little hard-headed now. I'm being sanctified, but I'm still a little hard-headed. But I found that God teaches me more as I go through times of adversity. And I learned a lot there. As a matter of fact, what I learned and what I went through there would help me be a much better pastor when I got to my next church, which will be what the next video will be on. So I kind of had a high in ministry at my first church. I kind of had what you might consider a low at the second one, and then I'm going to go way back up again when I come to my the third place that the Lord allowed me to serve at as a pastor. And so that'll be in our next video. But anyway, hey, pray for your pastor. If you're a pastor in that situation, seek the Lord on it. Seek counsel from other wise brothers around you, from, you know, people. If you're a pastor, I'm going to tell you this. You need somebody that you can talk to and tell anything you want to tell them in confidence. And I'll go even further than that and say it does not need to be your wife. I'll talk about that in another video, but that's my personal opinion. It doesn't need to be your wife. You need a pastor, you know, and I've had that. That's one of the reasons I'm at Gum Branch now, because Pastor Gabe, since the time I moved to this area 12 years ago, Pastor Gabe has been that guy for me. And, you know, we've told each other stories and struggles and things like that, you know, we tell each other, we pray for one another, and we don't go around telling other people. You know, you do have to be careful who you share your heart with. So even in ministry, unfortunately. But anyway, that's kind of a wrap on today's video. So hey, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. And my prayer for you is always the same, that the Lord might richly bless you and that you might see all of your blessings as from Him.